My kids thought I was just a stay-at-home mom. Until they saw my name on Forbes.
That's a bold way to begin.
I suppose I should introduce myself properly. I'm Emily, 35, MBA from Stanford, former finance director in a mid-sized equity firm in Portland. I left all of that 10 years ago when we moved to Ashland for my husband's medical practice. He's a vascular surgeon, brilliant, by all accounts. Andrew Carter. We have 2 kids, Ben is 10, Lizzie just turned 8. We used to live in a white farmhouse just outside the city. Off Highway 99. I say, used to, because I've been staying at an extended stay hotel for the past 2 weeks. I haven't told the kids why yet.
Why now? What brought you here?
Someone asked me when I last cried. And I couldn't answer. That bothered me more than anything else. Not because I never felt anything. But because I've built an entire life on not reacting.
Was it always that way?
God, no. I used to be fierce. I was the only woman in my MBA cohort who didn't back down when a partner cut me off mid-pitch. I used to fly between New York and LA on 2 hours of sleep to secure deals. But then, I fell in love, got pregnant, made a choice.
A choice.
To pause, just for a while, I told myself. Just until we settled, until the kids got older, until his hours became manageable. But the thing about pausing is, if you do it long enough, people assume you've stopped. The house became my office. The kids became my KPIs. And somewhere in there, I stopped speaking up. Not because I forgot how, but because no one was listening.
What did a typical day look like for you?
I woke at 4:45. Not because I had to, but because it was the only time no one needed me. I'd stretch, drink a glass of warm lemon water, check overnight market updates while the coffee brewed. By 5:15, I was journaling. Daily goals, emotional checkpoints. I worked out while the house was still quiet, yoga, HIIT, anything. By 6:30, I had packed lunches and checked school notices. The rest of the day was theirs: laundry, driving, dishes, groceries. But after 9 p.m., that was mine. I studied. I took online courses. I built models in Excel, tested market hypotheses, read case studies. I started investing again, quietly.
Why quietly?
Because I knew if I failed, they'd use it as proof. That I should have stayed in my lane. That I was naive for trying.
Did they know it all?
Not even a whisper. I tracked everything in private spreadsheets, on a locked drive. I had burner emails for investing platforms. I used a different browser. Everything was segmented, compartmentalized.
That takes an incredible amount of effort.
It was survival, not spite, not rebellion. I just needed to remember who I was when no one was watching.
Tell me about the turning point.
It was a Tuesday. Ben ran into the kitchen with an iPad, eyes wide. "Mom, you're on Forbes." I froze, thought it was a joke. Then I saw the headline. The silent power behind viraltic's rise. There was my name, my photo.
And how did that feel?
Like stepping into sunlight after living underground. Not triumph, not pride, just visibility.
What was the reaction at home?
Andrew was stunned, not happy, just confused, like I'd betrayed a secret pact. His mother said nothing, but her silence was sharp enough to draw blood. I could feel it, and the kids, they stared. Lizzie asked, "So, you're like a secret boss?" Ben said, "I thought you just did laundry."
What did you say?
I said, "That's why I never explained what I do. Because some things speak louder than words." And then I left the kitchen.
You mentioned earlier that you had systems, that this wasn't accidental. Can you share what those look like?
I controlled my time like it was currency. I never said, "I'm busy," I just planned better. I wrote out every hour of the next day before bed. I did weekly personal check-ins every Sunday night, reviewing wins, misses, mindset.
You also mentioned emotional discipline.
Yes, I never went to bed angry. Even when he did, I refused to give someone else the power to corrupt my rest. I forgave for myself. I kept my skin routine no matter how late it got, because discipline begins with small, silent choices.
What else?
I exercised daily, not to look good, to feel sovereign. I wore what my future self would wear. I didn't indulge moods. If it didn't align with the 10-year version of me, it had to go.
That's a strong identity foundation.
It had to be. Because nothing around me affirmed it. I was ignored, undervalued, even mocked.
By whom?
My mother-in-law, mostly. She once said to Lizzie, "Your mom is lucky your dad works so hard." As if I didn't do anything. As if raising humans, managing every detail, investing quietly, didn't count.
And your husband?
He noticed only what made him comfortable. He liked the clean house, the kids on time, the birthday cards sent. But he never asked how I kept everything running. Or why I stayed up till midnight.
And now?
Now I'm done performing gratitude for a life I built alone. I'm done proving my worth to people committed to not seeing it. I think I stayed because I was afraid my kids wouldn't recognize me if I changed. But when they saw that article, they didn't shrink. They smiled.
So who are you now, Emily?
I'm the same woman I've always been. They're just finally catching up.
And what comes next?
I guess I've been preparing to leave longer than I realized.
So Emily, what happened after the article went live?
For a while, nothing. Just quiet. Andrew didn't say a word for 2 days. His mother pretended it hadn't happened. Like the article was an accident. Like my success was a glitch in their narrative.
And the kids?
Ben kept showing it to people at school. Lizzie asked if we were rich now. I told her that wasn't the point. It wasn't about money. It was about building something I could call mine. Something with my name on it. Something that didn't disappear when I left the kitchen.
But you didn't go back home.
No, because I realized the house hadn't been home in a long time. I was just living in someone else's structure. Performing the role of the perfect mother, the supportive wife. But I was erasing myself in the process. Every perfectly packed lunch, every silent dinner, chipped away at who I used to be.
And what does home mean to you now?
Agency, respect, peace. I'm not interested in rooms filled with people who need me silent in order to feel safe. I want to be somewhere my ambition isn't an inconvenience. Where my presence isn't a placeholder for someone else's convenience.
That's powerful.
It took me too long to understand something basic. Women are taught that our highest purpose is to support. To serve, that our families are the end goal. But that's not enough. My children are part of my life. My husband is part of my story. But they're not the whole plot. I have my own arc. My own climax. My own rise. No one tells men their children are their entire reason for existing. Why should we?
And how do you live that now?
With discipline. With vision. I still keep the same routines. I wake up before dawn. Not because I have to, but because that time is mine. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about claiming my time as sacred. I do it to remind myself I'm in motion. Not waiting for someone else to define my day.
Walk me through your current habits.
Sure. First, time control. I don't say, I'm busy. I say, this is what I prioritize. I wake at 4:45. Meditate for 5 minutes. Then stretch or do light cardio. Then I write down my day's objectives. I don't let the day decide what it will be. I decide.
That sounds intentional.
It is. Second, weekly personal reviews. Every Sunday night, I sit down with a notebook. I ask myself, did I move closer to the 10-year version of me? Where did I let emotion dictate behavior? Where did I lead with clarity? I audit myself with more rigor than anyone else ever could.
That takes honesty.
Brutal honesty. Third, plan tomorrow tonight. Every evening, before I sleep, I review my calendar. I write out the sequence of my next day so I don't wake up lost. That kind of anticipation changes everything. It keeps me in alignment.
That kind of foresight isn't common.
It's learned. Fourth, I control emotional expression. I don't believe in spilling my frustration all over others. If I'm triggered, I pause. Breathe. Journal. No one benefits from a version of me that's reactive. And I don't like giving away my power.
How do you manage anger?
Movement. Reflection. I rarely speak when I'm angry. That's how I preserve relationships and dignity. It took years to realize silence can be strategy, not surrender.
You mentioned discipline. Where else does that show up?
In how I protect relationships. I don't go to bed angry. Not because I always resolve things in a day, but because I don't let anger fester in silence. Even when Andrew and I argued, I'd still say goodnight. Still kiss the kids. That consistency teaches them love isn't conditional. That adults can disagree without destroying the room.
That's rare. R.
And sixth, habit stacking. I combine tasks. I listen to business podcasts while doing makeup. I stretch while taking Zoom calls. I make time by using time smarter. There's no pride in being busy. There's power in being efficient.
What about your physical routine?
Seventh, I exercise daily. Not for weight loss, for confidence, for energy, for mental resilience. Even if I hate it, I still do it. Because self-respect grows every time I follow through on a promise to myself. Especially when no one else is watching.
That's remarkable.
Eighth, I never skip my nighttime routine. No matter how tired, I take off my makeup, brush my teeth, do my skincare. It's a small ritual, but it tells me I matter. That I'm not just surviving the day. I'm preparing for a better tomorrow. Future me deserves that respect.
What about how you present yourself to the world?
Ninth, I dress as if I'm already the woman I'm becoming. Every piece of clothing must reflect my future. If it doesn't, it goes. I'm not dressing for comfort. I'm dressing for alignment. When I look in the mirror, I want to see a woman who chose herself, every day.
And all of this, what does it give you?
Power. Quiet, self-contained power. The kind that doesn't depend on applause or approval. I used to think strength was in being everything for everyone. Now I know it's in being something for myself. The version of me who's no longer afraid to be seen fully.
Do you regret staying silent so long?
Sometimes, but that silence was fertile. It taught me, it pushed me, it forced me to build something no one could take. And now I have a voice that doesn't shake when I say, I don't belong to anyone's expectations. Not even the ones I inherited.
What do you want your children to learn from you now?
That their mother didn't vanish into service. That ambition isn't selfish. That it's possible to care deeply and still choose yourself. And most of all, that women don't need permission to evolve. I want Lizzie to know she doesn't have to disappear to be loved. And I want Ben to grow up respecting women who refuse to.
And your husband?
I think he's still grieving the version of me that smiled through dismissal. He doesn't understand this me yet. But that's okay, because I do, and I'm not afraid to take up space anymore. Because now I know. I was never supposed to shrink to fit a room. I was meant to build new ones.
So what comes next?
Clarity, expansion, not rebuilding, building, finally, on my own terms. With foundations no one else owns. I'm not going back, I'm going forward, with precision, with grace, and with a fire that doesn't need permission to burn.
That sounds like the beginning of something powerful.
It is, and this time, I won't apologize for how bright I plan to shine.
So Emily, have you thought about what rebuilding, or rather building, looks like from here?
Every day, it's not just a new chapter. It's a new genre. For the first time, I'm asking myself, if I weren't a wife, a mother, a caretaker, who would I be? And the answers surprise me.
What have you discovered?
That I want to lead. Not in theory, in practice. I've already taken meetings with 2 startups founded by women. I want to fund them, mentor them, help them scale. I want to make sure they don't have to hide their success the way I did.
So you're stepping into a mentorship role?
Yes, but also ownership. I'm building a portfolio under my own name. I've registered an LLC, Carter Venture Collaborative. It'll focus on early-stage founders who've been overlooked because they didn't fit a mold. Like me.
That's a bold move.
It's long overdue. I've spent years hiding behind family schedules and social scripts. Now I want my daughter to see her mother own rooms. And my son to see his mother speak with full voice.
How does that affect your relationship with Andrew?
We're in transition. There's distance. We've talked about counseling, but he's hesitant. He says he doesn't recognize me anymore. And honestly, I don't think I want to be recognizable to the version of him who preferred me quiet.
That's honest.
I'm not looking to erase the past. I'm just not living in it. I was a good wife. A present mother. But I was also exhausted from trying to be small enough to fit into everyone's expectations. I'm done with that.
And the kids?
I'm honest with them. Age appropriate, of course. I told them mommy's working more now. That I'm helping other women build cool things. Ben asked if that makes me a boss. Lizzie said, I thought you already were.
That must have felt good.
It did, but what felt better was realizing I'm finally setting an example worth following. Not because I'm perfect, but because I'm free.
Do you worry about backlash from friends, family?
Of course, there are whispers already that I'm too ambitious, neglecting the family, or making Andrew look bad. But I've learned this. When a woman reclaims her time, the people who benefited from her silence will call her selfish. That's not truth, that's exposure.
And how do you respond?
I don't. I redirect my energy. I've already wasted too many hours explaining myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. My new policy is, I only explain myself to the future I'm building.
What's your biggest fear in this next chapter?
Losing time. I know now how quickly a decade can vanish when you're waiting for permission. I never want to feel that again. So every week, I ask myself, is this a life you're proud of? If the answer is no, I pivot fast.
And your greatest hope? Hope?
That my children remember this version of me. Not the exhausted version who said yes when she meant no, but the one who started saying yes to herself.
Is that why you came here? Oh.
Partly, but mostly because I needed a space where I wasn't someone's mother, or wife, or daughter-in-law. Just Emily, a woman rebuilding herself in full view, without shame.
And how do you feel now?
Grounded, a little terrified, but mostly alive. Every day I wake up with intention. I make my coffee, review my schedule, I read something that sharpens me. And I dress like the woman who knows exactly where she's going, even if the map is still unfolding.
You've shared so much about your systems. What helps you manage your emotional state day to day?
I'm intentional about energy. Every morning I check in with myself. What am I feeling? Is it mine, or did I absorb it? I don't wait until I'm overwhelmed to pause. I journal before my mood decides my day. I also have rules. No news in the morning. No social media until noon. I protect my inputs. I don't allow reactive content to shape proactive goals. I learn to be kind to myself, but firm. Compassionate discipline.
That's impressive.
It's necessary. I choose music that lifts. I keep reminders on my mirror. Phrases like, soft is strong, and protect your peace like it's profit. I also make space to feel, but not drown. I'll cry, but then I ask, what now? End of day rituals matter too. No phone during dinner. I list 3 wins, no matter how small. I clean a space, even if it's just one drawer, because control breeds calm. That's how I hold my emotions steady.
And if something throws you off?
I walk, even 5 minutes, or I text a boundary. I'm not available for this energy right now. I've had to let go of friendships that confused drama for depth. Peace is my new non-negotiable.
If you could tell your past self one thing, what would it be?
Don't wait to be seen. Don't shrink just because they're uncomfortable. And don't confuse being needed with being valued.
And to your future self?
Keep going, keep building, and when it gets quiet again, because it will, remember, silence is not the absence of power. It's the space where you regain it.
That's beautiful, Emily.
So is this version of me. And I'm finally not afraid to say it out loud.
Now that you've stepped into this space of power, what do boundaries look like for you?
Boundaries used to feel like walls. Now I see them as doors, with locks I control. I don't say yes out of guilt anymore. I say yes when it aligns, and no when it protects.
And how do you define alignment?
It's how I feel in my body. If I say yes and feel tension in my chest, that's a no in disguise. If I feel peace, even if it scares me, it's usually right. I've started trusting that inner signal.
Has that changed how you relate to others?
Dramatically. I've had to walk away from some relationships. Women I once bonded with over shared exhaustion now find me too intense. I'm no longer bonding over burnout. I'm choosing connection through purpose.
What's been most surprising in this process?
That joy requires effort. That being happy isn't natural when you've practiced sacrifice for too long. I had to relearn pleasure. How to sit down with tea without folding laundry. How to laugh without apologizing.
And has that affected your identity?
Yes, because I'm not afraid of being seen as too much anymore. Too driven, too organized, too passionate. I used to dim myself to make others comfortable. Now I radiate on purpose.
If someone asked you who you are now, what would you say?
I'm a woman who honors herself. I'm a mother, yes. But also, a builder, a leader, a learner. I'm someone who no longer trades her truth for temporary peace.
What do you hope your story teaches others?
That reinvention isn't betrayal. That growth doesn't mean you were broken. It means you outgrew the limits others put on you. I want women to know that you don't have to collapse to be considered caring.
If you had to define success in this new life, what would it be?
Waking up without dread, making decisions from clarity, not fear, raising children who see strength in softness, and building wealth, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, relationally.
And what about rest? What role does that play now?
It's non-negotiable. Rest used to be the reward. Now it's the foundation. I sleep when I'm tired. I pause when I'm drained. I give myself permission to restore, not just perform.
That's a shift in mindset.
Absolutely. I used to see rest as lazy. Now I see it as strategic. No empire is built on burnout.
So what would you tell someone standing where you were 5 years ago?
Don't wait for validation. Don't confuse being liked with being respected. And above all, don't abandon yourself in the name of being available for everyone else.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Running a fund that's helped launch 50 women-led companies. Publishing a book about invisible ambition. Traveling with my kids to teach them that the world is bigger than suburbia. And loving someone, whether it's Andrew or someone else, who doesn't flinch at my fire.
And how do you feel in this moment?
Strong, aligned, like I finally exhaled the version of me that was surviving. This me is living.
Emily, after everything you've shared, I'm curious what fuels you now.
Fire, focus, but also peace. I used to think I had to choose. Now I know I can carry both. But if I had to sum it up, it's motion. I've realized I can't afford to go static. When I'm moving, building, aiming, I thrive.
You've mentioned before how clarity changed everything. Is that still your driving force?
More than ever, I keep learning that clarity isn't a lightning strike, it's momentum. Every day I stay in forward motion, I gain more. The more I act, the more I see. It's when I pause too long that doubt sneaks in.
So you stay in a state of drive.
Yes, not anxiety, not chaos, but calibrated drive. I function best when I treat every day like a battle worth showing up for, not out of fear, but out of respect for what I'm building. I've come to accept that my best self emerges when I'm in pursuit. When I'm on fire for something. As long as I'm striving, I'm alive. And when I'm alive, I attract what I want. That's not coincidence, it's creation.
You sound like someone who's no longer afraid of her own ambition.
I'm not, because I've seen what happens when I suppress it. I shrink, I dull, I disappear, but when I give it space, my ambition doesn't just build wealth. It builds joy, pride, legacy.
What's something new you've discovered about yourself in this season?
That I am magnetic when I believe in myself. That people respond to energy more than credentials. That I don't need to prove, I need to project. And that starts with how I speak to myself every morning.
What do you tell yourself?
You are disciplined, you are clear, you are already becoming. It's not just affirmation, it's identity reinforcement. I train my nervous system to expect success, to stay open, to stay moving.
And emotionally?
I no longer ride every emotional wave. I observe, I recalibrate, I focus on frequency. How do I want to feel? Empowered, curious, certain. I choose actions that feed those states. That's my job, to manage
How do you sustain that?
ritual, reflection, and knowing that low energy doesn't mean failure, it means pause. Then pivot. I check my alignment daily. I ask, am I building or drifting? If I'm drifting, I pull back into momentum.
And when you hit resistance?
I shift into challenge mode. I've trained myself to lean into friction. When things feel hard, I say, this is where most people quit. So I won't. That shift.
That's powerful. What would you say is the core belief guiding you now?
That I become unstoppable the moment I refuse to abandon myself. When I hold myself in belief, everything else bends to match it. That's not ego, that's alignment.
And how does that translate into daily life?
I start strong. I finish proud. I write my goals every morning. I measure inputs more than outcomes. Did I move forward? Did I honor my focus? If yes, I win. If not, I reflect and adjust. But I never shame myself. I coach myself forward.
That's the energy of a leader.
It's the energy of a woman who's done apologizing for wanting more. Who's realized that forward is her natural direction. Even on the hard days, I remind myself, I don't need permission to advance.
That forward energy is at your foundation now?
Absolutely. When I stay in motion, I stay in power. If I had to name the one truth I've proven to myself over and over, it's this. Every time I choose action, I get results. Every time I fight for my momentum, life meets me halfway.
And what happens when you lose that momentum?
I rebuild fast. I don't wait to feel ready. I move, and the moment I do, energy returns. I've learned I'm not meant to idle. I'm designed for movement, creation, impact.
Do you think this pace has a limit?
Not for me. I don't believe in slowing down for the sake of appearances. I'll work until I'm old. Maybe until I take my last breath. I want to die creating, mentoring, building, not resting. Rest is woven into how I live. But I live to move. And I want to end my life mid-momentum, not in regret.
That's an intense but inspiring vision.
It's clarity. When I'm old, I want to be writing checks to women who remind me of me. I want to die sharp, awake, contributing. I want my last thoughts to be, I never stopped becoming.
And if your daughter could hear you now?
I'd tell her, you don't need to slow down just to be liked. You don't need to stop to be loved. Keep moving, keep becoming, because momentum is sacred, and the moment you trust it, it will carry you farther than fear ever could.
Emily, you've built a life with intention, and now a narrative that will inspire.
I hope so, not because it's extraordinary, but because it's possible, and possibility, once it's seen, can't be unseen.